to the cloud. All right, and we live just like that. Wow, okay, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. Hello, and welcome to another installment of She Saves the Day. I'm here with another wonderful lineup of panelists who I will let introduce themselves in just a few moments. But just an overview, She Saves the Day is a panel presented by HBCU Con for the Urban Action Showcase, and we are here to highlight and discuss all of these wonderful women who are just doing big things in their various industries, geek adjacent, if you will. But I want to tap into, I want you all to get a chance to talk about yourselves and the work that you've done, but also we could talk about current events and various issues. So we got an hour. We could maybe take it a little further if you guys have time, but let's get to it. So I will let the lovely lady Sensei introduce herself, and then we'll go down the line to I guess we'll go ABC order: Ariana, Clarissa, and Regine.
So thank you so very much. I'm honored and ecstatic to be here with my sisters. My name is Gerry Chisom, but when I put on my martial arts uniform, I grow into 8 feet tall, and people call me Lady Sensei. And I've been training in martial arts for the last 15 years in self-defense. And I was a victim of domestic violence in my life. And I turned my life completely around by training in the combatives of ninjutsu and weaponry and all of those things. And so I have a lot of ministry that I do now with the martial arts to help other women who may be where I used to be, to let them know that there is daylight and sunshine on the other side of anything that you're going through, and that you can take your power back. I'm also a columnist for Black Belt magazine. And last year I was inducted into the Black Belt Magazine Hall of Fame as the instructor of the year. So I give thanks for the opportunity to be here with you and to share our experiences. Thank you so much for having me.
We are honored to be here amongst the living legend. Shoot. That was really powerful. That was really powerful, and I definitely want to tap into that, especially the domestic violence aspect, because I know that hits close to home for a lot of folks. Yes. Ariana, girl, introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Ariana Fobbs. I'm a junior at Bowie State University. I'm a theater major with a concentration in acting and directing. I'm also a member of the zealous Zeta Delta chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Yes, ma'am.
Did I do that right, girl? Did I do that right?
Yeah. And that's about all for me. I've dabbled. I am a dancer. I've multiple various styles: jazz, tap, ballet, contemporary, hip hop. I do a lot. I've danced on the team here at Bowie State as well.
Yes.
And that's about all. That's about all for me.
Okay, which dance you with the marching band dance team, or which?
No, the Impact, the official dance team.
Oh yeah. Okay, check you out. Congratulations. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate this.
Oh, we're happy to have you. Yes. And the wonderful Clarissa, please introduce yourself.
Yes, my sister.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Yes. It's an honor to be on this panel. Y'all make me feel so full. I'm grew up with sisterhoods and the need for sisterhoods. Yes, we need spaces and places to speak to each other. My name is Clarissa Clay. I'm the head of Blerd City. Blerd City means Black and nerd, and we celebrate the nerd in you.
Yes.
I kind of do a bunch of different things, like I'm just following Ariana's suit. Today, I stepped into my directing head. I haven't done that in a while, so I was shooting a short film earlier. So if my energy goes like that, you know where it's coming from. And as always, it's like a short film about Black woman that is a cyborg, and
Nice.
Oh my.
Right, that's dope.
I'll show y'all some of the what we did as a costume, and she we flash back to her being captured by an alien, and I named them the Darwingians. So I made up my own universe. So I'm like really like just like creatively just touching all kinds of juice. And she gets the mother named Nora. She gets captured, and her daughter, she actually wants to get captured to go save her mother. And the cyborg that's trying to capture her turns to be her mother. So that was like a lot of fun. So I was having fun in the park today. So,
Okay, check you out.
so wearing another hat and love just anything creative. That's just my thing.
I know that's right. Yes, we are definitely, the room is filled with storytellers tonight, and I want to, last but certainly not least, introduce the wonderful storyteller, Regine Sawyer. Please tell us about yourself. Hey!
Thank you for having me tonight. My energy is also a little bit all over the place.
It's all good. We chilling tonight.
Quite a busy day.
We're holding you.
Yes.
Right.
But yes, my name is Regine L. Sawyer, and I am the coordinator and founder of the Women in Comics Collective International, WINC for short, and we support women and queer folks of color working in the comic book industry. And we host a lot of events across the country and now virtually. We do panel discussions, workshops, art shows, and we have our own conference, a WINC Creative. I'm also a writer and publisher. I write comics from my company, Lockdown Productions, but I've also written for companies like Marvel, DC, Away Blue World, and recently Z2 Comics. And well, today I was doing my crochet business. I crochet. I'm an avid crocheter. I love crochet. Been crocheting since I was 4 years old. So I was selling my crochet goods in Manhattan today, and ran home to Queens to be here with y'all. So that's me. That's me. That's what I do.
I didn't know that you were into crochet like that. I gotta check you out. Might have
to.
I love this. They got some irons in the fire.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. Everybody should pull a surprises, right?
Nice.
I pull up my questions here so I know what I'm doing. Okay, so a lot of you guys tapped into this question, which was, what's your niche in the community? And you kind of touched on how you how you found your place in the community as well. But elaborate a little bit on that, if you will, and specifically how your like how you kind of fit into the geek community, how you found your niche in the geek community, if you will. And you can even talk about your fandoms as well. I know that was kind of like a loaded question, but just, I guess, give a because I'm like, dang, Lady Sensei, you told a lot of y'all told your stories already. Let me let me say this. What challenges, I would say, do you all have in your respective communities? So like the geek community overall, and then like for you, example, Lady Sensei in the martial arts community, or Ariana in the theater community. Are there any challenges that are specific based on your demographic, like based on you being a Black woman, or if you have any other, I guess, attributes about yourself that might marginalize you, then how has that, affected how you navigate your communities?
So the martial arts, it's very clear that it's a paternal structure. It's a paternal structure, more than 100 years in this country. And with the advent of social media, I've been able to build a platform that was labored for and built out of a lonesomeness. As a woman in the martial arts, you know, I've encountered a lot of sexism, racism, ageism, culturalism. And so the martial arts world, in my observation, has not had a lot of women who look like me on the platform. The martial arts is a very hierarchical industry, and in some ways, these old structures demand that you have to have a certain sort of almost permission to operate external of your dojo, of your school and system without permission. You know, it's almost like you have to ask permission to speak sometimes. So as a woman who's lived through domestic violence, that wasn't something that I could support. You know, and so I noticed early on that I was always, not always, but greater than 90%, the only woman presenter, you know, at seminars and things. And I always wondered, like, where are all of the other women practitioners? You know, so there was a lot of tokenism for me in the martial arts. And so thus the Women's Martial Arts Network was born out of all of these experiences, because had our children, girl children, if they had an opportunity to see more images of women like me and other Black women in the martial arts, our community would be more populated. Black women would be more populated into the martial arts. And so, so we believe that our voices, our images, and our stories will inspire the next generation. And, you know, I came up at a time where people look to sports personalities and entertainers and things like that to aspire to. But what we want women and girls to know is you are awesome and ordinary just being you. And your story will inspire just as many as Rihanna's story, or, you know, whoever's story, that you are still awesome and ordinary just the way that you are. So there was a lot of chills out there in the martial arts, because it's like, who is she? And because I haven't been training 40 years, some people don't think my voice or accomplishments are even legitimate, because I haven't done it for 40 years. And so there's a lot of dynamics out there in the martial arts, but I would say this far down the line, particularly with social media, people have embraced me. I've been able to find support in the world martial arts community. And sometimes you got to go a long way away from home, before you can be accepted at home. And so I've met so many wonderful brothers and sisters of the martial arts from all walks of life, and it's a beautiful family to embrace, those who use the martial arts as a ministry, you know, to help others, really. And so the martial arts is just one of those stations in life where we can reach back into our communities to help others. But I'm tasked by my teacher to help make the weak strong. And so the martial arts is my ministry and my voice to do that.
I know that's right. Martial arts as ministry. I love that. I used to work for a faith-based women's rights organization. So when you said that, that just really resonated. And I've done martial arts. I got up to my red belt. So that really just resonated with me. But yeah, so and anyone feel free to jump in, talk a little bit about like what challenges and obstacles you may have faced in your respective community, and how you navigate that.
I'm not all the way in my industry quite yet because I am still in college. However, I will say, you know, when I lived in Florida for about a year and a half to 2 years, somewhere around there, it was hard for me. It was hard because I went to a predominantly white school, and it was a challenge for me because I'm on the lighter side, and I'm not a white young lady, but I'm too light to be considered black, and then you're too dark to be considered white. So it's like, I was trying to find that meeting ground, and thankfully I did find a few people. And I will say that if I didn't go through the things that I did go through when I was in middle school, when I lived in Florida, I'll say that I wouldn't be who I am today. Because while I was in Florida, I'm like, I'm going to be a veterinarian. I said, I'm convinced that's what I want to do. Easiest way, get some money, call it a day. I was like, that's what I want to do, So then when I moved back up here to Maryland after my mom had passed, I went back to my old dance studio, and I was like, wow, I'm liking this. I could express myself without feeling like I'm being too vulnerable. And then I turned to writing poetry and singing and drawing and things like that. And I said, I really like, arts. And at my church, I joined the fine arts ministry, where it was nothing but love, and it was laughter and joy when we were all together and putting on these multiple productions. So then when I figured out I wanted to come to Bowie, I said, yes, this is it. I'm coming to Bowie, theater major, acting and directing concentration. That's what I did. And I've been in a few productions. However, my personality, I'm goofy and bubbly, and I'm a little sassy. So oftentimes I do get typecasted as the goofy or the ain't nobody got time for that kind of person.
Sassy black woman, yeah.
Yes, the sassy black woman. And it's like, I have depth, I can do different things. And recently, I was able to be the lead in a production here. It was a small production. Thank you. I was able to be the lead. And, within that role, I had to it was levels. I had to be sad. I was angry. I was hurt. I was blaming everybody else for everything else. But then I was also sassy at the same time. So it caught everyone by surprise. And it helped me realize that, I can actually do more than what I am normally casted for. Because when you are always casted as that, then you're convinced. And I convinced myself that, okay, that's it. Like, this is just, I'm going to be, period. That's how I'm going to be, and, I'm glad that I would never step out of my comfort zone. And since I did step out of my comfort zone, I did have the opportunity to be a paid extra on an upcoming HBO series. So it was just like, the minute I just let everything go and stop worrying about what people are going to have to say, and, I don't want to be typecasted as this and cast as that and cast as that. I was just like, I'm gonna just do it, and went for it, and I got it. And I said, well, look at that.
She is bubbly.
I know, I love her energy. She's so precious. You're so wonderful.
I was thinking about her description of sassy. I was like, my, times have changed. I got whipped for being sassy. Today it's a badge of honor. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's a badge of honor to be sassy today,
Yeah.
Like the
honestly,
word badass.
But that's the whole point of like you building those networks. And Regine and Clarissa, I want you all to talk about your challenges and obstacles as well in building community, because that's the whole point of us doing all of this, right? So that we can let the future generations have the freedom to like be themselves and to explore all those avenues that we were told that we weren't allowed to explore. Yes.
Discouraged, I would say politely. We would discourage from being sassy.
Exactly.
and being so
Exactly.
forward.
And it's really confidence, you know, like, but anyway, Clarissa and Regine, please tell us a little bit of, about your stories and how you navigate obstacles in the community.
I can say since a kid, I've always been a nerd. I just dive into a certain area. Usually people prejudge me. It could be one of the isms that Lady Sensei had said, I want to just add one to them. It's by body type.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
People can assume by your body type that you're not smart, you're not intelligent, you're not able to hold a conversation, whatever they find as a way to limit the access of seeing you as a whole person. So that's been a definite challenge. Sometimes quote unquote my disabilities, like when you are not like either walking in a way someone thinks, or you need to take extra time to by just sitting and then okay now I can go, or your energy levels. It's a lot that people prejudge. The other night I went to take a Uber, and the Uber driver is right in front of me, and I had bags, so I could only take my phone and wave one finger. He moved his car back. I was like, okay, that's a little strange, but you know, you tired, get into the cab. And he actually pulls off. And I'm like, what? Like really? Like it's like cold out here. And he just pulled up. I don't know what he just saw me, and whatever his ism was, that's what he reacted on. But he didn't react enough, because I did call 311 to report him, and I did call Uber to report him. I was like this. I said, you ain't think I knew that, did you?
Right. I know that's right. Yeah, so and he could have been responding to multiple isms, quite frankly, you know what I mean? Like, and I think one that I wanted to mention, but now that you and Ariana had spoken, is colorism. Yes. And how, you know, like even like prime example, you know, I had to use the restroom, and there was a McDonald's nearby, and they had just closed the lobby, right? So I had to go so bad. I was like, I can't, you know, this is it, you know. So I'm like banging on the door. And the people who were working in that shift were mostly like Hispanic, presumably mestizo. So they saw me and opened the door for me, you know, and let me in or whatever. And my line sister followed suit and got out the car to also see if she could use the restroom, and they wouldn't let her in. Yeah. And my line sister looks more like you than she does like me, Clarissa. So, and whole time she's part in Dominican in part. So she's the one who's actually Latina. But they're like looking at me like, oh, okay, because I'm ambiguous, they identify more with me than they would someone who's actually Latinx, just simply because she's, you know, clearly a Black person. But yeah, and in that spirit, Regine, I want you to talk, because I know Regine's got some juice, some tea.
Not for the lack of trying, you know. But no, well, to speak to what Lady Sensei had said earlier in regards to patriarchal structures, most structures I've worked in have been patriarchal. I think that goes for all of us, you know, and it's just always interesting to see the nuances in the context of the patriarchy. And so specifically with comics, you know, it's fascinating because this is a medium in which has a lot of fans. We now have movies based in comic book stories and whatnot, and it's broadened the fandom in many ways. And so you have so many people that have always been interested in comics, always loved comics, and now even more so. So it's been interesting to enter an industry that was at the precipice of comic book movies and so forth. And for folks to be surprised to see your face, to be surprised if you would be interested in the same thing.
Right.
To see that you like it too. And then, and you work, you write, you draw, you're not here promoting the booth, you're not a booth babe, listen, booth babes have their place, God bless the booth babes. However, again, nuance is nuance. We're all different people who do different things and have different capacities. So when you enter a space and they're used to seeing women in a certain light and don't have room in their brain to see the other aspects of us, or they just choose not to, the responses are hilarious. They're laughable and they're sad and it's pathetic all at once, that someone specifically talking about men, you can't see someone beyond, what you believe them to be, or believe what their use is. So when I entered, with some of those thoughts in mind, my main thought process was, I love comics. This is a medium that I've always been interested in. I've always collected comics. I've always created my own characters, even when I was a little girl. So I wasn't thinking about being a woman, definitely not thinking about being a Black woman. It was just about, this is what I love. This is what I enjoy. So when I entered as an editor and a writer with a deep background in writing, it was like, oh, she's cute. She's cute. And it's like that's nice, but I'm here to write and to get a job and to work. Yeah, I know that. It's great that we all know that. But what's even greater is if you flip through my script, and originally I wasn't seeing a lot, specifically Black and brown women working in the industry. Until I met Elisa E. Martinez. If you know me, I sing Elisa's praises. Elisa is an amazing, amazing artist and writer and creator, and she is the first woman of color to ever work at Marvel and DC on a mainstream book.
Wow.
The first.
Name up.
And what's always interesting about Elisa, yeah, I'm the first, but I don't want to be the last. Why am I the only person still? Mainly the one, why am I still the one that's mainly drawing these books? Why is there no one else coming in behind me? And whenever we talk about it, we're like, well, the answer is they see everything that you got to go through in order to push those books out. And they're like, yeah, no, that definitely is a part of it, when you feel like you don't belong, when you feel like, okay, we see that there's one, but we don't see you hiring any other people. So the decision is, oh, maybe I'll just publish it for myself, or let me see if there's another company that's willing. But she was the first person that I met, and then I met Barbara Brandon Croft, who is the first African American person to be nationally syndicated.
Wow.
Nice.
Nationally syndicated. Jackie Orms is the first Black person to be syndicated. Period. She was syndicated in the Detroit Free Press. Okay. And then Barbara's father, Barbara's father, Brumzik Brandon Jr. Yeah, he's the first to be syndicated, and his daughter is the first African American woman, the first Black woman. So that's Barbara. So once I started meeting them and I started meeting other women, it was just like, well, we need to do something. We did a panel. We were asked individually to do a panel. I had some of the ladies that I knew to be on this panel. And that was the first Women in Comics panel that we had. And afterwards, some of us talked about it, like, oh, we should do some more stuff together. So I remember distinctly speaking to Elisa. And at the time, she had been working in the industry for 13 years. Now it's 22. Now it's 22. And she said, no one invites me to these things. No one invites me to panels. And this is after drawing for Daredevil, drawing Iron Man, drawing when she was first on Black Panther. She was first on Black Panther in the late 90s, and then she recently won an Eisner Award for Walter Wakanda. She had written books, drawn books after books, but no one invited her to anything because of the fact that she was Afro-Latina, because of how she looked. Like it was very blatant. Like she is Black,
Right.
and and she didn't get invited to the various things. So after having those discussions, it was like, well, let's start doing some stuff, and that's what we did, and that's what we've been doing for the past 8 years, and then we've grown into who we are. But there's still so much to do because folks still see the facade. They still judge the facade. And at the end of the day, it's their problem, but your problem is getting in the way of my money.
Right.
Hello.
Right.
The
Facts.
problem is getting in the way of my money.
Facts.
Okay? Like that
now.
is the main issue. Money. It's like that's the problem. That's the problem.
It's real.
That's the problem. So and that's what that's where our concentration is on highlighting, primarily highlighting women of color. And definitely Black women in the industry. That's why we do the art shows. That's the point of having a conference for us. It's like so you can see the work, you see the faces. Okay, now you see the work. Now you can bring them together and realize this is coming from one and the same person. It's about the promotion. It's about getting people jobs. And I'd like to think that due to our existence, a lot of people have had an easier time getting work in the industry because not just so much about us existing, but the fact that because we did panel discussions and had women on and other folks on that no one else initially put on. Other companies got to see them, and now they hire them. So now you're seeing more Black and brown women, more Black and brown non-binary folks on these panels in various capacities, moderating or whatever, you're on the panel. But because you see that, it's like, oh, that person does XYZ, we should hire them. Let's look at their work.
Right.
So that's the main thing. Let's get people paid. Get people paid. I will be Black. I will be an activist. I'll be all that. Give me my check. I will be me, but give me my check.
That's real. It's so real. And that's something that I think that we don't really, well, I mean, I know that we do it here, but I don't think it really hits us until we're reminded or constantly reminded that these isms do affect our daily lives.
Yes.
And it can depend on where you're at, like Ariana, you were talking about how here in Maryland, like folks kind of see you and they know you for who you are and where you come from. But when you went to Florida, because of how you present in terms of like, your aesthetic, and I kind of, go through a lot of the same thing. Like people don't know how to categorize you or their mindset of what a Black person is supposed to look like, what a Black person is supposed to take interest in, such as comics or martial arts, is, we're supposed to fit into a certain box, basically, and that's just not true.
But my observation is we live in either a country or a world where chronic labeling. You understand? There is no humanity. We just start grouping people like things and labeling people because we're limited in our scope or our exposure to others, and we begin to label. Chronic labeling. It's almost the only way people can deal with you is look at you and figure out a label.
Yep.
And stick it on you like a name tag of some sort. I went to go see Mrs. Michelle Obama. She came a couple
of a nice picture of you.
And she said something that really resonated with me. She said, essentially, when we deal with each other superficially, we use these labels and things like that. Oh, he or she looks different from me. She walks different from me. She wears her hair different, all these things, all these superficial things. She says, but you really, once you begin to tell your story, it is in our storytelling that makes us have commonality.
Yep.
Really, my mother was a nurse also. really, we didn't have that for Thanksgiving dinner also. And then so you start to tell your stories to humanize who you are, you see, and beneath the labels and the exteriors and the political affiliations and all of those things, you're going to find people across lines who are struggling the same way that you're struggling, you know, who have some of the same stories that you have, so on and so forth. You see, and so she was saying that your story isn't finished, that we're always becoming. We're always in a state of becoming.
That's real.
You understand? The elder sisters used to say it, well, God ain't finished with you yet. You understand? It's the way the elder sister said it. You know, but I think the labeling, when people can't figure you out, when people don't take the time to acknowledge your humanity, they just like take this big broad brush and they just go whoosh. And now I don't have to deal with you. Now I don't have to be personal.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that's been happening for decades, if not centuries. But I think that the way it's like it's taken on different forms. So like, oh, Negro, now Black, you know, or like they would use derogatory terms for Asian people, you know, back in the day, especially during World War II. You know, so
well,
like,
I do have to say, and this is another conversation. I mean, categorizing is definitely a byproduct of toxic whiteness.
Ooh, speak.
Of wanting to put people in boxes so that you can define them, as opposed to allowing them to define themselves. You know, because if you let someone define themselves, you're giving them you're allowing them, quote unquote, quotes around allow, to be autonomous. You know, so if I have the power to give you a category, you know, that puts me over you and essentially makes you less than. But that's another story for another day. But
no, you're right about social.
Dr. Wade Noble says that power is the ability to define your reality and then have others buy into it as if it's theirs.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. I know that's right. All right. So you guys are just so wonderful. Okay. Let me we got a little more than 20 minutes. So I want to try to like, oh my God, these questions.
We'll do a part two.
Right. We need to. We need to. And I keep saying that because this is crazy. All right. Let me see. I'm torn between two questions. All right, I think we got time for two more. So I'll say describe the state, because I think that's something you touched on, Lady Sensei. Describe the state of violence against Black and Indigenous women from your perspective. And for the sake of the conversation, I want that to include, because I think, Regine, you did a good job of lifting up non-binary folk. And at least for me, trans women are women. So, you know, I also echo that in the same converse, like if just kind of relish your thoughts on that, because there's violence that Black women are facing. There's violence that trans Black women are facing. And, but it's all part of the same, like you said, machine, Regine. It's all white supremacist patriarchy that's really driving this. So yeah, speak a little, if you all could speak a little bit on that. And just to give you context, for myself and my own experiences, I also, my cousin actually her life was taken to domestic violence by her estranged husband. So, and then he, you know, committed suicide shortly thereafter. So it is very personal for me as well. And it's just something that I feel like we don't talk about in our communities for a variety of different reasons. So yeah, but I know this is like really hard to encompass in like a 5-minute.
That is not a 5-minute question.
It's not. It's really not. It's really not. But I think it's an important question to at least try to address, you know.
Because for me as a Black woman, it's every day an assault. It's an assault walking out being in my house, walking out my house, going to the train station, another assault, riding on the train, going to work, which moment is not being assaulted for some kind of reason? Going to the store can be an assault. Like, okay,
That's important.
you need to walk around the store and follow me because what?
So
Not,
the assumption,
not that I'm going to steal.
the widely held assumption is that assault is a purely physical.
Right.
Could be
When
mental,
Black
emotional.
women experience spiritual assault, economic assault, just, on and on as a group. And so, I retired after 11 years. I was on a psychiatric emergency response team for the city of New York. And I can tell you about what I saw in the women who come through behavioral health to be hospitalized over all of the various levels of assault on their spirits. And no less than down to 4 and 6 years old.
Right.
You understand? Now, in my industry now of the martial arts, back in the 70s, white women organized and did some pioneering in the martial arts for women, but it wasn't for us. It wasn't for Black women. The feminist movement of the 70s omitted Black women largely because the thought was, because you all are born into urban areas, you guys pretty much, you don't need this education. Like, you're born knowing how to fight. You're born not being so affected by, being beat up and being injured and having violence. I'm simplifying it, but the white women's movement of the 70s, the feminist movement in the martial arts, it was not for us. And so Dr. King said it best, that we were never, ever humans. We were never, ever people. Since we've been in this country, we have never been viewed as humans to begin with. And so things don't have feelings. We weaponize girls, Black girls. We weaponize, their Blackness. We weaponize their feminism. We weaponize all of these things, and we don't assign the same value on their lives. Even, when you're talking about Black women, Indigenous women, so many of them have disappeared. You understand? So many of them have disappeared. Black and Missing is a tremendous organization who is out there trying to make a difference. But we saw, the story of the poor young lady, Gabby, who got killed. The boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, killed her. Right. But at the same time, we saw the type of coverage that her circumstances received. Right. The end, and how her behavioral health challenges, right, were treated delicately and respectfully. But Black people are not given, and Black women and Indigenous women are not assigned the same value, of having those issues or having resources. Yes. To deal with those issues, you see. And so people more so look at us as if we have some genetic loading and predisposition. Yeah, strong Black women, Well,
I wanted to add that I think we still are giving our power away. It's that's why sisterhood is important also, because it's like, how did you handle that situation? Yes. or what did you learn? And that helps you to navigate in a certain way. Like I had to learn that, and I like said, sometimes you just got to speak about what racist thing is happening to you. I went to go see Tina on Broadway, and then I had to go to the bathroom. Now, the sister on stage, fierce. She played Tina hard. Well, I went downstairs, and it actually was a predominantly white audience that went to see it. So I'm on a woman's line, and I went downstairs, and as I'm coming upstairs, a white woman grabs her purse upon seeing me. I've learned that sometimes we have to learn how to be defensive. So the way I defend myself, I'll be like, I'll keep my face straight and be like, dumbass. And I'll say it so that they can hear me and know I am speaking to you.
Right.
Dumbass.
And I see you. Right.
And I'm empowering myself by not empowering myself to say that I have a voice. I don't have to receive what you did to me in the way you think. My other defense, like I was on a subway going to work, and this white male had got on, and this particular white male had came to stand by me by the door, and I was at the pole. So all of a sudden he checked his back pocket. So I pulled my purse up and I started checking myself all over. And he looked at me through the side of his eye to say, like, no, she didn't. And I looked at him like, yes, I did. And we have to learn how to defend ourselves through, because it's madness.
Yeah.
Madness that a person, I was like, I have to tell a person, in a store, aren't I stealing if I leave the store with something, not if I pay for it? You know, right. Like, you know, we have to defend in so much. I could just go back to your earlier question about, you know, like as a Black woman, what particularly, you know, how you defining or how you're navigating. I think that's how we become even more powerful, because it's like you have to let people know what the act that you're doing. I'm not taking it. Sometimes
you have to defend your square.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I think you touched on
an important.
You touched on something like the fact that you experienced that one incident and you were there to see a performance that was based on Tina Turner's life. Like,
yes,
that whole, you know, and then, you know, you think back to like segregation where it would be a barber shop and it's all Black barbers, but white customers only. Like that whole narrative of Black people constantly being forced to perform, to the point that even you, Ariana, you're like, yo, you know, I can still do my job. Like I got range, you know, just because this is my personality doesn't mean that that's the limitations of me as a professional, you know.
But I think it also goes to your point. I think that also is a part of the violence. Like the levels of violence, just like Lady Sensei had mentioned and Clarissa, was that it's not just physical. It's living every day with all, like, being defensive in the sense that, okay, what's going to be thrown at me when I walk down the street, and it becomes so natural that you become so conditioned. Yeah. You know, whether you are thinking that something could possibly physically happen, or it could be just a cat call. You know, hey sexy, hey beautiful, or what have you. Right. It can be as minuscule, if you want to call it minuscule, as that, or to something even greater. It's going to work and being miserable every day. I have a friend that just is a part of the Great Resignation and left her job because she was tired of crying every night. And they were putting her under a lot of stress. She was a young Black woman. Well, she's saying maybe just me, but essentially young for the position she was in. You know, and she said, I'm done. Like she was just like, forget it, because she was sick and tired of of the violence. And what I find interesting is that how we as a community, especially when it comes to Black women, but also when it comes to Indigenous women, when it comes to trans women, when it comes to women of color, how we come together and protect each other because we know that others won't.
Yes.
Or they won't step up the way they should or as quickly. And I know for women in comics, we definitely have had to do that. We had to do that this year. We've had to do it in prior years. Just folks wanting to come to events, and these are folks that were harassing our members, and we had to put our foot down and say, no, you can't come. And it became this thing where like, well, how dare these women say no that you can't come? And I said, listen. At one point, there was that one convention that we had, and I was at the microphone. I said, listen, if something happens in here, you better hope the cops come, because we're going to take care of you however, by any means necessary. Like, we're like Wu-Tang, we're not nothing to F with.
Right.
That was it.
Right.
And people were like, oh my God, did she just threaten us from the podium? I was like, yes, I did. Yes, I did. Like, I don't
That's
care.
what I'm saying.
It's like, I don't care, because we have to, if we have to bring our own safety with us, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And it comes again when we go to events. A lot of times it's just maybe a good portion of non-Black folks, or just a bunch of like white folks. And so we'll all go, and most of us are folks of color, so we'll all go together. So we bring our safety with us. Like, yeah, we want to go to this party, but we know that we may face microaggressions. We know we may, face somebody that wants to, take one of the ladies along somewhere if she don't want to go. But we're gonna go together. Right. And let people know what time it is. So that's my little 2 cents.
I know that's right. If we came together, we leave together was a person.
Exactly. Exactly. We had the body together, like whatever's necessary.
I know that's right. All right. So I think I got time for one more question, and then I'll let you all drop your social medias and stuff, and we'll wrap up for the evening. And Ariana, I think I want to start with you. What advice would you give to your younger self?
Mm.
Let me know if you want me to come back to you.
Yes, please.
All right, anybody just go then. I mean to put you on the spot.
I would say for my younger self, go ahead and be fabulous.
I know that's
what I was say to my younger self. Just go ahead.
Yes.
So I would say, I'm an ex-military wife, and I left New York with a young man who wanted to be somebody, who wanted to do something with his life, and he ended up being socialized with the older men in the military who didn't teach him any better. And he began to drink, and I began to get beaten on and all of those things as a very young girl, 18, 19 years old.
Wow.
And what I've had to go back as an exercise, you can imagine yourself sitting in a movie theater, and you play back the scenes, whatever those traumatic events were, or the ones that seem to have robbed you of your joy and your power. Put it back on the screen, and when that part comes, stop the film right there and freeze that frame, and then get up and go step into that frame and go talk to yourself at that time. And what I've learned to do is to let the younger me know that you are going to develop so much power, because you're going to be able to take your pain and make it so productive.
Beautiful.
Understand? Take your pain and make it productive. And you take the power out of that pain when you can do that. So many people that we admire, they grew into that person. You understand? They weren't necessarily born that way.
Right.
You see, but as the elders used to say, you know, if it doesn't break you, it'll make you strong. And as Black women, our daily living in many cases leaves us with strong is the only thing left to be. You understand? And that's,
say that.
Right. You know, just to be fierce, feminine, and authentically yourself, unapologetically. You see? So I would say to my youngest self, definitely you are going to master making pain productive, and you're going to teach other young women, you know, to do the same thing, to make your pain productive, because if you don't, it will consume you. It will consume you. You have to take your power back. You see? Okay. So definitely make your pain productive.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I received that. I know that's right. Regine, Ariana, whoever wants to go.
I mean, for me, I probably would just go back and say, and just let her know we did it. We made it through. We made it out of certain situations. And, you know, there's still some stuff we got to go because I'm still here on this planet, Lord. But, but a lot of the hurdles we jump through, like we're going to make it. Like, don't have so much fear consciousness inside of you. Like, we got this. We got this. That's what I would say.
I know that's right.
For me, I would say never lose your trust in your Heavenly Father, because there were, you know, everyone on this panel, we all have a story. We all have been through some things, and I have a story, and I've struggled. And I think when I lost my mom, that was the breaking point for me. And after I lost her, I was like, look, I'm checked out. You know, I was living with my aunt and my uncle. I mean, I would yell at my aunt, "You're not my mother." Yell at my uncle, "You're not my father." Like, and you know, and I knew it hurt them. Like, it broke their heart. And like thinking about it now, you know, just because their faces and the hurt, like that's something that, you know, they're okay, they forgave me and everything, but it's like I really hurt them from that. And I would never, not even just with losing my mom, but even with things that happened before then, I would never lean to God when I was really struggling. And all the time I would blame God. When I lost my mom, I was like, now come on now, like that was the only parent, and you took her, you know. So I would most definitely tell my younger self that, you know, never lose your trust in your Heavenly Father, because that's yeah, that's it.
God bless you, Ariana.
Absolutely.
God bless you all. That was a beautiful way to wrap this up. Oh my gosh. Well, I think that you closed us out perfectly, Ms. Fobbs, and we are going to, I want to give you all the opportunity to shout out your socials. This has been such an amazing panel, and I definitely want to do part 2, because, you know, we got the second half of questions we ain't got to yet, but and I'll probably have 3 or 4 more questions by the time we get there. But please, give us tell us how we can find you and follow you. And yeah,
I want to jump in there and do a shameless plug, because we're talking about Black women and our images and all of those things. And I'm just so honored and proud to share with you that Master Valencia D. Robinson has written the first book on Black women in the martial arts.
Nice.
Wow.
And
nice.
It is beautiful. Shameless plug.
Beautiful.
I don't want to get up and run over and get the book and hold it up.
No, that is awesome. Are you kidding?
It's called The Sheroes Who Look Like Us.
I'm excited.
Black and brown variations thereof.
Right.
So we're very, very proud of her. And you're going to be seeing her during the week. We're going to have a lunch and listen to talk with Valencia D. Robinson.
Yes.
So please pick that up. The Sheroes Who Look Like Us.
Got it.
Right.
And I'm just at ladysensei.com.
I know that's right. I know that's right. All right. Anybody who want to go for it.
Blerd City, BLERD City at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Also, our website is blerdcitycon.com.
Gotcha.
That's BLERD.
Ooh,
Thank
yeah.
you. And Shauna, thank you. This has been fabulous. Thank you for putting this together.
You fabulous. Go ahead and be fabulous.
Ferocious, fierce, and feminine.
Yes.
Got that.
I have way too many links, so I'm gonna try to keep it to like 2. So for the website, for the Women in Comics website, for anyone who wants to check us out, see what our membership is and what we do, because we do a lot of programming and such. www.womenIncomicscollective.org.
Yes.
If you want to check out my comic book stuff, that's www.lockitdown.com. That's LOCKETT down.com.
Yes.
Sister Regine, could you give me your website again, please?
Which both of them?
The first one that you gave your website.
So it's womenincomicscollective.org.
Women in Comics Collective.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, and I'll be sure to send. I'm gonna email all y'all after this too. So I'll send a follow-up so you all can keep in touch.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ariana, last but not least, go ahead, Soror.
You can find me on Instagram at MONET_ARI24.
Yep. Monet Ari.
Yep.
Or Ari, sorry. I keep saying Ari.
You're fine. And on LinkedIn, it's my first and last name, Ariana Fobbs on LinkedIn.
Okay. Yes. And I definitely want to shout out VCDMA and the Department of Fine and Performing Arts at Bowie State University just for their support for HBCUCon for the past 2 years now. God, those 2 years went by fast. But once I learned that you were, an aspiring actress and director, well, shoot, you are an actress. You already got your first role and everything in a major TV show. So, but I just was like, I gotta plug Ariana in with these wonderful women. But I'm just this was just so wonderful and so such a beautiful panel. My heart is full. I want to cordially invite all of you ladies to HBCUCon 2022 and all of our viewers. It'll be April 29th through May 1st at Bowie State University. And once again, we're working in partnership with the Department of Fine and Performing Arts. Shout out to Professor Teodros Makeshua. He's just wonderful. But yeah, feel free to check out our website, hbcucon.org. And we're also on Facebook, Instagram, all that, HBCUCon. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And thank you so much to Demetrius Angelo.
Absolutely.
Yes, Urban Action Showcase.
Brother Demetrius, Brother Chisom, thank you so much for these very meaningful collaborations and platforms that you always provide to your sister warriors, your spiritual sister warriors, all of those things that we embrace, as a part of the change. So thank you so much. You make such a difference, in our lives. We thank you so much for everything that you're doing for our images and to give us opportunities and platforms. Such an honor. Thank you so much.
I know that's right. A true ally.
Oh, yes.
All right, ladies. Thank you so much. I'm just so happy.
Thank you.
Ashe, queens.
Yes. Ashe.
Ashe.
Yes. All right. And we're off live, y'all. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording. Yeah.